correct if there are any mistakes and errors in my proposals. And currently, ignore the Chinese. It is translated by AI, so there must be errors. It's in the lack of a better term, I have coined this term called Central Sanctum. It's a special type of architectural layout. The two main characteristics I'm going to talk about. We can see, for example, over here. It's a kind of central sanctum that I'm talking about. So it has a square sanctum and corridor, square corridor. So I'll go back to this now. First, I'm defining what I mean by central sanctum. I mean it's a kind of sanctum or shrine which is in the middle of the hall. It's a very special type of plan in India at least. So where is it found? The question. Here you see this map. The red circles are the Buddhist caves, and the yellow circles are the Shaivite caves, or the caves belonging to the early Hindu. In India, when Hindus started making caves, it was the Shaivites, the worshipper of Shiva, who started making the cave temple first, and they started making it from the 6th century AD. But the Buddhists were making caves 800 years before that. So we have to understand these two things. So Buddhist caves are, one is called Sio, second is called Sanamatia, and third site is called Aurangabad, which has many caves. But I'm here going to talk about only 4 caves. Cave number 5, cave number 2, cave number 7, and cave number 6. I'm going to show you the photographs and ground plan in later slides. And one cave is Banoti. Let me tell you one thing. Sio, Sanavakia, and Banoti. Very difficult to reach. No documentation exists. No published literature exists. I went there with some difficulties and took some photos. And for the first time, here in this room, we are getting some observations about these God-forsaken caves. Then the Shaivite groups, you can see the names Elephanta Cave, Bhokeshwar, Ellora Cave, Cave 26, Cave 1, 21, and Ellora Cave 20B, Jogeshwari Cave, and Elephanta Cave 1B. I'm going to show you the photographs later on, and that is the location. Now, here is the Sio Cave. It is on the westernmost part of India. The first red circle on the western, in the left side, is Sio Cave. It is on the border of Pakistan, India and Pakistan. So that is where this single cave is found. I made this ground plan, schematic ground plan, just 2 weeks back before coming here. And here we are able to see that it is a very special kind of cave for Indian cave temple architecture at least. And on the basis of this plan, I dated this cave temple to 6th century AD. Because before 6th century AD, this plan never appears in India. And as you can see, this is the plan where in the center of the hall you have the sanctum. It's very common here in China and Central Asia. Another cave is called Sanavakia. On this side also, there are 62 caves, but no documentation, no report, no survey so far has been published by anyone. The caves have not even been numbered. So, I, being a citizen of India, inviting you scholars, please come, there are barren sites. You can become the Einstein doing the exploration and survey and documentation and publishing for that first time. Even I have not done it because I'm stuck in some other case. So there are many caves, of which one cave I'm drawing your attention to, that is this particular cave, which also has this, a sanctum shrine in the center of it. For you, it may be usual because in your central pillar caves or in Kucha type central pillar caves, you have this common plant. In India, it is very uncommon, very unusual, never appeared before 6th century. So, now having shown them, I'm showing you more plants. This is Aurangabad case. Cave number 5, cave number 2, cave number 7, cave number 6, and then Banoti cave. I made that plan. Archaeological Survey of India does not give permission to take measurements. So it creates a problem for researchers. So I made schematic plan. But these plans were made earlier by again archaeologists. Here also you can see a hall and the sanctum is shrine is inside the middle of the hall. This plant, as I told you earlier, never appeared before 6th century AD. So we find at these sites, and now the question is, where else do we find? So those were Buddhist corpus, which I showed you. There might be some more caves. Many sites even I have not visited. There can be some more sites where such, we find a lot of India is still, I will say 50% of the caves of India, half the caves of India have still not been explored. Because there are very few scholars in India doing research in Buddhist caves, and government is not much encouraging. So now we come to the other corpus, other group of caves having such kind of plants, set, which I call the Central Sanctum plant. These are all Shaivite caves. After the Buddhists, these Shaivite people, Shaiva people, started making such caves, and these are the one among the earliest Shiva temples found in India. And they began, you can see, from the similar plant. Now here is, so these plants throw a question. Where did this sanctum plants come from, which have cuboidal central core? I say cuboidal means like a cube in the center. It's not stupa, it's not round, but cuboidal. And then quadrangular pointer. It's not circular ambulatory, but quadrangular square corridor. These 2 points to be noted because these are very much characteristics of these 6th century caves, because never there before, and they were never there later on also. Now, so the question is, we have to find the answer, where it came from. So let's look at earlier cave structures in India. These are some of the earliest caves in India, dating from late 3rd century BC and 2nd century BC and yeah, these 2 centuries, all these Buddhist caves. So I'm bringing you some samples when they were making a small room, square, plan, and then the stupa, and also relics have been found in some of these caves. So it is very, Indian caves are very much distinct. That there was this stupa, and its dome-shaped structure, and and even the even the plant was round initially, as you can see. But gradually, they found, the workers, the masons found that circular plan is difficult. Square plan is easy, especially when you are carving inside the mountains. So in the later case, round plan they dropped and they selected square plan. So, but here we do not get what we are trying to find, what we call square center and square plan, not here. Next selection is from in what we call Chetiya Ghar. That is the house for the Chetiya, house for the stupa. All of you must be knowing. So on this single slide, I have made a selection from the earliest time, Ashokan time. The first plan that you see has inscription by Emperor Ashoka, who was known to be the first royal patron for Buddhism in India. So, they are considered to be the earliest case. And here I have Ellora also here. So in Ellora is about 7th century AD. So from 3rd century BC to 7th century AD, we are talking about nearly 1,000 years. So this is nearly 1,000 years of the development of the sacred Buddhist sacred halls. These are not all. Many of the halls I have not included. They are simply some examples to convey an idea that what we are trying to find, the plan, is not there. Then let's come to some other varieties. They found later, parallelly a lot of experiment was going on, and they found that is for the Chetiya Ghara, for the worship hall, making an absidal plan, curved plan, is so difficult, especially in the hard rock. So you can see they made many experiments. They said, no, we want square hall, it's okay. The Buddha is not going to mind. And they put the stupa inside the square halls. But again, this is not the plan which we are trying to find. And again, more varieties. These are all from the 2nd century AD to 5th century AD. Lots of different typology would be found for different where you can make rooms, you can make halls, and then you can make stupa, things like that, shrine, sanctum. But what is found, what is most interesting thing you find, the stupa is always behind the structure. Stupa is always behind the structure, not inside the hall. So now here this is Ajanta. Ajanta and some more caves contribute to Ajanta. Here also you can see Indian caves are very much different because our rock quality in India, basalt rock, the rock is hard than what you find in China. So it allows for making very much deep caves. You can go maybe 3 times deeper than this, 4 times deeper than this hall. In Kailashnath, they went really 60, almost 60 meters deep they were able to carve, and the ceiling is not going to cause no problem, it's going to happen. So Indian caves, some of the Indian caves are really very big and very tall and very big. But what is so characteristic and so different from the caves that we find here is that there is a hall like this, and then at the end of the hall they make the shrine. In all of these caves is at the end of the hall. They were not making the sanctum inside the hall. This was up to 5th century AD, from the 3rd century BC up to 5th century AD, 8 centuries. They were very much clear. And more varieties. I'm not taking you the name of different sites. There are many sites, more than 60, 70 sites, cave sites in India. And so I'm not taking the names of those sites. If you want, you can take my PPT later on from Professor Singh. And here also, you can see the sanctum is placed in the end of the hall, not inside the hall. So that's all we have in India. I mean, this is all we have. But what we started to search, we did not find. So the pivotal central core and the quadrantal corridor, where it came from, in those 5 caves which I showed you in the beginning. So let's look beyond India. So when I started looking beyond India, trying to understand Chinese, I'm still a new learner for Chinese caves, learning and seeing. So I'm not an expert of Chinese caves. So your feedback is necessary for this research. When I try to think outside India, not many Indians studied Chinese caves. There are very few Indian scholars who studied Chinese caves or Central Asian caves. Very few. Not more than 5 in our country. So we don't have much knowledge. So recently when I started looking, then in northern Taklamakan region, I found some caves here having those kind of plants. Hall, inside the square hall, you have the square sanctum. So, I mean, you have it in Yunnan, you have it in Dunhuang, you have it in so many places, even in Turpan you have, and you have in Kizil. I don't have all those plans with me, and I don't need to show to you. You know everything. But I just had one, I just tried to put together some samples. And in my preliminary observation, I feel that these are some of the earliest so-called central pillar caves in Kucha. But that is not the point here. The point here is that this is something which looks similar to what we are talking about. And about the date of this, you know better than me, that now Chinese scholars think that from the late 5th century AD, central pillar caves begin in China. That is the understanding that I have developed after talking to you. Still, the precise date, nobody knows. But a consensus is there that maybe towards the end of 5th century AD, the central pillar originated in northern Taklamakan and also in different other places. But if that is so, then it becomes logical to think about Chinese and Indian caves relationship. Because earlier I showed to you the Ajanta caves. First is a site called Dharashiva, Cave 2, Central Sanctum there. This is a Mahad, Cave 1, Central Cove over there. Central, you call it Central Pillar. I call it central block. Central block. Here also they had central block. Here also they had central block. Here also is the central block. Central block, but only carved half. Central block, but only carved half. Half. And central block carved only half. They were going to make corridor, but stopped it. They were going to make corridor all around it, but stopped it. For some reason, maybe in future, I will make a detailed presentation on this, what happened in Ajanta. Many things happened in Ajanta. So that is not the focus of my thing. But those of you who are wondering where the central pillar came from and what is central pillar, I know you guys are doing a lot of research in this. I think maybe you can find answer in India. Maybe you have to come to Ajanta and allow me to show you. I will take you inside the case. And I also have detailed photographs. First of all, inside the shrine, the permission is not granted. You ask archaeological survey, they will not give you photos. But I was fortunate to get permission and I have photos. I can share with you. So if you want to find ancestry of Central Pillar Caves, I'm giving you a clue. I'm not sure. I'm giving a clue. Maybe you will find it in Ajanta, and these plants are indications. And so, look at the date. Now let us come to the date. These are my datings. And these are Sirka dating.